guys, and welcome back to the channel. You already know what it is. It's Ron from Wrench-a-holics, and today back in the lab. What else are we doing? So right behind me, right here on this table, we're actually going to heat wrap my PBM Cobra Pipe. So pretty much, if you don't know who they are, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but PBM is a pretty cool company here in California. They started out working on pretty much the 240 drifting scene. And they came out with this super cool downpipe here. It's called the Cobra Downpipe. It essentially turns a two-piece downpipe from the OEM style setup to a one-piece, which is super cool. And this one allows you to tuck it up just a little bit higher. So for all you slammed guys out there, it's a pretty good downpipe to get. I got it used, but the condition that this thing is in is like pretty much damn near brand new. And the weld super spot on, no cracks, no dents or anything major other than a few minor scrape marks, but I don't think the person that had it before me was slammed because this thing is like still good. So we got the good old heat wrap here. Yeah, so I'm kind of excited. Let's get to it. Alright, so here it is, the PBM Cobra Downpipe. And we got the good old-fashioned heat wrap. It did come with the stainless steel, if I can get them. So there's these like stainless steel zip tie things, but we're not going to be using these because these tend to break off, and the tension that you get off of these ones aren't as strong as using like a worm gear. A worm gear would be legit. Because you get more tension off of that worm gear versus you pulling on a zip tie or a style zip tie that comes with the heat wrap that you normally would get. I went ahead and just installed my wideband just to make sure the threads were good. Again, remember I got this used, but again, this thing was pretty much immaculate. As far as a used condition goes, it's still great. There's nothing really wrong with it. Just surface imperfections. Obviously it's used, so there's some tarnish on there, but again, like on the back end, there's really no dents, a couple scrapes, but nothing that prevents this thing from working the way as it should. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it, and then I'm gonna show you the whole process. Just key thing, tip, if you're working with heat wrap, this thing is like fiberglass material, so I highly recommend you guys wearing gloves, or you're gonna hate your life afterwards after messing with it, because you're going to be itchy as hell. I've done it once before, and we are going to use gloves this time. The best thing to do before you even start it is pre-soak it. Just soak this thing in water so that it's easier for you to wrap. And also, when it dries, this thing it shrinks. So that shrinking effect basically gives you a tighter wrap as you're wrapping the whatever you're wrapping. So for this instance, I'm wrapping the Cobra Downpipe. So when I'm all done with it, we're gonna heat up the pipe and then basically just let this thing dry off and shrink to the pipe so that we have a nice wrap on the downpipe. So we're gonna go ahead and get that started, and hopefully try not to get itchy by the time we're done. Alright guys, so we are actually at a halt right now. I was trying to get started. I just started going through my all my stuff here, and I don't have any clamps. So this is pretty much the worm gear. This is what we're actually going to be using to clamp down the wrap. Obviously this is the wrong size, but yeah, that's just for example purposes. Oh damn, the pose are out. I wonder what's going on. But anyways, so yeah, this is what we need. Unfortunately, I don't have anything of this diameter, so we're probably gonna hit up the AutoZone and get some clamps. So I'll be right back. Alright, we just got back from AutoZone. I got the hose clamps. Pretty much I got the biggest ones they have. We're going with hose clamps, or pretty much worm gear clamps, versus using these zip ties, because you can get more clamping force out of the worm gear. What I'm gonna probably do is I heard it's best to go ahead and soak your heat wrap, so I'm gonna go ahead and soak the heat wrap in like a trash can or something, and then we're gonna go ahead and start to prep out the wrap for the downpipe. I'm gonna go ahead and uninstall my wideband sensor, so I'm gonna go ahead and uninstall that, and then pretty much go ahead and wrap the whole thing. So I'm gonna show you show you how to do it. It's pretty easy. You're just gonna wrap it. But the main thing I want to tell you guys is if you're working with heat wrap, it is fiberglass material, so you want to protect your hands, wear gloves or anything like that, or you're gonna hate your life, only because you're gonna feel hella itchy by the time you're done handling this stuff. So just wear gloves. If not, if you don't care, then go ahead, but I don't want to be itchy all day, so I'm gonna go ahead and wear some gloves and then wrap this bad boy. So yeah, let's get to it. We're going ahead and soaking the heat wrap. So pretty much the reason for this is that with the heat wrap being soaked, it's a lot easier to wrap whatever you're wrapping, whether it's a header or an intake or whatever it is. It's a lot easier to wrap when the heat wrap material that you have is soaked. And also why you want to heat wrap is you're going to heat wrap the whatever you're going to heat wrap, and what you're going to do is you're going to just like let it dry out. And as the heat wrap dries out, you're pretty much going to have a better seal, because the heat wrap will shrink and it'll form to whatever you're heat wrapping. So again, that's why we're gonna soak it and then wrap it. Gotta remember which is the end part. I messed up. I gotta find it now. Alright, so again, we're gonna heat wrap this the elbow section, and we're gonna heat wrap the downpipe section, and we're gonna avoid wrapping the flex portion of the Cobra pipe. Only reason why is because this part has to be able to flex and move, so I don't want to heat wrap it. So we're pretty much gonna heat wrap in 2 areas, and we should be sufficient. So heat wrap, and then all you gotta do now is just you're gonna wrap and get what's called 50% coverage every time you wrap. So I'm not trying to hit my car. So what we're gonna do, I gotta find the best way to do this. Pretty much you're gonna wrap, and every time you overlap, you're gonna do what's called 50% coverage, and then you're just basically gonna wrap halfway of each time you wrap. So what I mean by 50% wrap is every time you wrap, you're gonna go over your previous wrap section by 50%. So if you can come in real close, you'll see this little indentation here. That pretty much is the whole length of the wrap right there. It's like the width part. So then when I rotated it back around, I wrapped 50% of it, meaning half of what's left. So now what you're going to do now is you're going to take your next wrap rotation and you're going to line it up to that line right there. So that's like 50% wrap, right? So when I do it, obviously it's going to be kind of hard to see it fully done, but this is what it is. So remember, that's the portion of the wrap right there. I'm going to line up that next wrap right there. So now that's 50% wrap. And you're going to keep going all the way until you get the whole portion of whatever you're wrapping done. I know there's some portions of whatever you're wrapping, whether it's a header, tubular header, that it's kind of hard to get into those areas. But it's kind of best to do that because you get full coverage every single time you get the wrap going on. And again, every time you're wrapping it, I mean, it gets messy, but what you want to pull taut as you wrap. Reason for that being is you really want this thing to adhere to whatever you're wrapping. Alright, so as you can see, we have a little bit of extra. I would say a lot more than what I expected. I'm gonna leave at least, I would say about, I don't know specifically, but I would say about 1 inch from the tightening nut right here on the clamp. About 1 inch from where it actually meets the back end of the clamp right here. So pretty much 1 inch out is what I'm gonna save. And then anything from that marking down is what I'm going to cut off, because I don't want to have this hanging around on the bottom of my car. Even though no one sees it, I want it to be really clean. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut that off. Boom, right there. And then we're going to go ahead and do that to the top portion right here. Make sure everything's clamped off too. So that's pretty much what it looks like. I would say it's about a 2-person job, just because you need someone to support the weight of the Cobra downpipe as you're rotating. It can get kind of hard. So here it is. So we're going to go ahead and clamp that off, and this portion of it's done. I'm going to show you exactly what I did when I went around the actual hanger and the wideband O2 port. I'll show you exactly what I did to go around it. So in more depth once I get everything clamped out. So be right back. There it is, almost done. And then we're gonna move on to that bad boy right there. Alright, so here it is. This is the now shortened worm gear clamp, and this is the excess. So I'm gonna pretty much get this as a template and go onto the other clamp, and that should be good to go. So it's pretty much gonna go like that. Don't forget to, it's not in focus, but don't forget to smooth down and soften up the edges when you cut this material off, because it can get really sharp and you don't want to get cut when you're down there. So go ahead and, you know, sand it down, make sure it's soft to the touch, and we're good to go. Alright, so here you go. This is half of the finished product. I still got to do the top part of the elbow part, but pretty much this is the wrap. I try to keep it consistent. It was kind of hard getting this part, but pretty much think of it as pie cuts when you weld. But yeah, so try to get that 50% coverage throughout the whole process. Kind of messed up there, but as long as you get most of it, you should be okay. And then here you go. The main thing that I want to point out is that when you do these clamps, you want to do it to where it's somewhere where it's easy for you to access, but if it's something that you don't want to get damaged, i.e. like if you're really slammed, obviously you don't want that clamp end on the bottom portion here, because then what ends up happening is that if you're slammed, you get the idea, you're pretty much gonna break off that, and then your wrap gets all messed up. So try to avoid that when you think about placement of your clamp tightening gear here, or the tightening nut. This one, I put it basically, if you think about it as you're looking at the lateral side of the car, this would be like your firewall area here, and this is where the downpipe elbow would swoop underneath into your under portion of the car along the frame rail. I try to put this somewhere close to where if I need to get access to it and tighten, I can. Obviously you're going to be using like a stubby style flathead instead of that long regular traditional style flathead, because you won't be able to have any type of spacing once you get this thing installed. So just think about the placement of where you want the clamps. Obviously if you wanted to re-tighten this, or if somehow you know, if it got loose and you want to tighten it again, but if you put the clamp on here, I mean, it's kind of hard to wrap around your hand over the downpipe along the firewall frame rail area and try to tighten. So you always want to have access to it. Again, this one here, I went ahead and just I'm going to use a socket too to go ahead. Oh, my bad. Socket too, and get a nice clamp rotation on this, and then I kept it away from the ground so that it doesn't break off if I were to scrape on like a speed bump or anything, because I still scrape, as evident on my old downpipe. When you guys see it, you'll see the scrape marks. So I would imagine I will scrape on this, but I'm hoping that this adjustable bracket here will allow me to raise the Cobra pipe high enough to where I don't scrape, because on the downpipe I have currently on my car, it's some China made one that doesn't have this part here. Well, it does, but it doesn't have the function to where you can adjust it with the slotted or elongated bolt holes here. So I'm hoping that helps. But yeah, I would hate to see this thing get messed up because it really looks nice. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the top portion. This should be easy. I don't need anybody to help me. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten, wrap this part, and then show you what it looks like complete. Oh, and one more thing. Let me show you exactly what I did on the O2 port and the bracket. Alright, so for the O2 port, I pretty much did one whole length of wrap on one end, and then when I rotated over to get the wrap, I kind of like scrunched it up, as you can see. But I still was able to get around and get coverage on that bottom portion right there. I might not have enough coverage, but as long as it doesn't get messed up, I think I'll be okay. And then I went ahead and went around the hanger here, as you can see, folded the edges down right there, and then clamped it down. So should be good. And again, the clamp doesn't interfere with the bolt holes that line up to the test pipe. So we're clear, and there you have it. Alright, one more piece. Alright guys, so there it is. That is the final product of the Heatwrap with the worm clamp gear style clamps here. So now all we gotta do now is get the heat gun and then just heat it up on one end and let this thing dry out. So we're gonna go ahead and do that right now. I really don't need to put any footage on it. I'm just gonna be heating it up. Pretty much I'm just gonna stick the heat gun from here. Just let that heat up all that heat wrap. Let it shrink up, so we should be good to go. And then once it's all cooled down, I will show you the final product. I just don't want to burn my hands. So we're gonna go ahead and set up that heat gun and let's get to it. Looks good, man. Damn, can't wait. Getting some more progress. Starting to see the smoke come out of the top portion of the elbow here. So we're getting there. This one's still heating up. So just keep doing it until you feel like it's pretty dry to the touch. Again, don't touch this right now because it's pretty hot. Let it cool down and then feel for spots. If you still feel like it's kind of damp, go ahead and heat it up again. And then you just keep going from there. Alright guys, and there you guys have it. We are done wrapping the Cobra Downpipe. I hope you guys learned something. You know, as always, pretty much just make sure you wet the wrap so you get that good tight wrap on whatever you're wrapping. If you're wrapping a tubular manifold, it could be kind of tricky to try to get in between the runners. But by having the wrap wet should be a lot easier for when you start wrapping that tubular manifold. Right now we're just waiting on a couple more parts to come in so that we can fully do the whole exhaust system on the 240. I'm waiting on a new test pipe and the associated gaskets, as well as the gasket that goes on the turbo outlet portion, so that I can reconnect the new downpipe, because I know I'm going to damage that gasket once I take out the downpipe. So we're just waiting on a couple more parts, and also I'm waiting on a new transmission mount that allows you to use the original exhaust hanger, so that you can mount the Cobra pipe correctly, so that you can mount it up higher so that it doesn't drag. If you're really slammed, may not really do you any good, but for me I believe it'll help a little bit, because I do have Circuit Sports solid transmission mounts and they suck because they don't have that provision where I can actually use that bracket, but this is the bracket I'm talking about. Alright, excuse the mess, this is the workbench, but pretty much this is the new transmission mount here. I'm waiting for the bracket that allows me to hook up to these two screws so that I can hook up the Cobra pipe to it. And what you're hooking up to is essentially this portion right here. So this slotted holes right here allow you to pretty much push up the downpipe so that you're not scraping. But like, again, if you're super slammed, that may not even help you. But for me, I'm not low at all, so it should help me a little bit. And this piece is pretty solid. So the only difference between this one and the one I currently use is that pretty much the one I currently use is like this, where it doesn't have any provisions, but it's a solid transmission mount, and it sucks. So this one is going to be a lot better because it does provide the provision so that I can use the bracket. So I'm just waiting for the bracket to come in, and we should be a-okay. If you guys want to know what it is, I think this is a really old this is like an Avid one. I was trying to search online to figure out what the hell this thing is. I actually bought this a while back, and the only ones that come close to what it even looks like is a company called Avid, A-V-I-D. So they do make these. I don't even know if they're in business still, but I was lucky enough to score one. There's a couple out there that do provide this. So my suggestion is, if you're wanting to go with a solid mount for engine mounts and transmission, engine mounts, you know, you want to get the right one. I'm using Circuit Sports. It vibrates like hell, but they're solid. And transmission mount, you just want to make sure that you have something that allows you to hook up the OEM bracket for the hanger. I'm gonna try to leave a couple links below on which companies do provide this one. Again, I think this is the Avid model. I can't really confirm. It's been a while since I bought this one, but yeah, as long as you're able to provide that, or as long as your transmission mount is able to provide these two mounting points, you should be a-okay. But yeah, oh, the hood is popping right now. But yeah, so again, we're all wrapped up. Waiting for the bracket to come in, waiting for the test pipe, the gaskets, and we should be okay. So there you guys have it. Damn, that thing looks fresh. Look at that. Alright guys, thanks for watching. That's the end of the video, and as always, if you guys have been here since day one, hype is for the moment and style is forever. Deuces.